Hello, what we're going to be covering in this video is the lab at the end of chapter 4-7 or lesson 4-7. It's entitled Remember Your Emojis. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use the Codable protocol, the file manager, and methods of data to persist information between app launches. So what we did in 4.5 and 4.6 is we did go ahead and create an emoji directory application. We did not finish all of 4.6, but we do have that finished application available in the student files. So let me just go into Finder here really quick. Click on Documents. If you look under Saving Data, under Tables and Persistence, the emoji directory app is over there, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy that over and paste it onto my directory so I can go ahead and update it, and then I will go ahead and open it up right now. So the one thing we did not get to is we did not get to adding the functionality that you could go ahead and update an emoji or edit an emoji, or to go ahead and save a new emoji. So if I click on the main storyboard really quick and bring that storyboard up, and what it'll show is that we've added another table view that we can go into. It'll display the symbol, name, description, and usage, and we could either go in and edit an existing emoji or add an emoji. So we're going to walk through that process once we build this app so we can go ahead and persist the data. In order to do that, there was a new controller added, Add Edit Emoji Table View Controller, that basically controls this view right here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to go back into the book. So like we learned in the playground, the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we can write our data out to a disk, and one of the ways to do that is we want to make sure that our emoji struct conforms to the Codable protocol. So first thing I need to do is let me go ahead and open up my emoji Swift file, and what I need to do is to make sure we can go ahead and implement Codable. So I've added that line of code, or the Codable. So what we're going to do next, according to the book, is we need to go ahead and add a couple of methods. We're going to add a method signature for a save to file. And what it'll do is it'll take in an array of emoji objects as a parameter, and then we're going to add a static load from file method. It will not take any parameters, but it'll return an array of emoji objects. So let me go back into our code and add the static method signatures for both of those methods. So the first one will be static func load from file, and what we're going to return is an emoji array. Okay, and the next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and add our stub or our method signature, our function signature for our save to file. And what's going to get passed in is an array of emojis. Okay, so we have our two method signatures. Again, we're going to see this compile error until we return something in our load from file function. So the next thing the book wants us to do, and the next thing we really need to do, is we need to go ahead and get a path to where we're actually going to write our data to in the file. So what we need is we need a file path. So we're going to go ahead and add a static property archive URL to our emoji class that will return the file path for documents/emojis.plist. So again, we're going to do that. We walked through that in our playground assignment, so let me just go ahead and close this down. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the foundation framework like we did in our playground example, where it defines a file manager class that's used for interacting with the files on disk. Again, it has a function that gives you your app access to the documents directory and enables it to read and write files in that directory. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and write our code to establish our documents directory. So it'll just be a static variable, and it's going to be called documents directory, and it'll just equal, again, we're using the file manager class. And what the URLs method will return is basically it'll return an array of URL objects. So again, I need to make sure I have default there. And then we're going to specify documents directory for our search path directory. And then we're going to use the user domain mask, which refers to our user home folder. That's the folder that holds the user's apps and all their data. So we're going to look for that in user domain mask. And then what we need to do is we want to go ahead, since it's going to be returning an array, but there's only one document directory, so what we want is we want it to go ahead and return the first. So we'll specify first. Okay, so that should return our documents directory. So now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and append both the file name and then the file path extension or file path component. So we're going to create another variable, and what we're going to define that as is archive URL, and that'll equal to our documents directory, which we defined up above, which we now know the path to it. And then we're appending our path component. And what that's going to be is our emojis. And then what we're going to do is we're going to append our path extension. And what that path extension will be is our plist. So that is where we are going to be saving our emojis array after we've updated it or edited or deleted emojis. Okay, so now that we have our directory and the file that we're going to be writing the data to, so what we can do now is we can go ahead and use the methods on data to write directly to and from our files in that directory. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and code up our load from file and our save to file. So to retrieve the data from the file, you can initialize a data object using its throwing initializer and pass it the URL at which the data is stored, and then you can then decode the data. So what we're going to do is we'll just have a guard here, and we're going to let coded emojis equal our try, and then our init for our data using the contents of. And again, the contents of is just our file, the actual file, path and file name that we're going to be saving the data to. It'll be our archive URL. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to retrieve information from that path, and if it does not exist, then what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and return nil, since the data has not been persisted at this time. So the next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and decode that data. So we'll go ahead and create a decoder or a property list decoder. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and decode that. And I need to make sure I call my constructor on that. So we'll return try and our decoder. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically call our decode and what it will be is an array it'll get decoded into an array, and then it'll be from, I think I might have specified the wrong function call. It'll be from our coded emojis that we read in from our archived URL. So again, let me get the syntax here correctly. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be returning a decoded array of emojis. We pulled that information from our archive URL path. Okay, so that's the load from file. So now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and code up our save to file. So we're going to use the write method on data to write to the archived URL. This method will create a file at the specified URL with the data in the emojis array. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add .no file protection as a parameter. And this allows the file to be overwritten in the future should your emoji array change and it needs to be saved again. So first thing we need to do is we need to encode the information. So I'll go ahead and create a property list encoder object. And after I've created that object, I'll go ahead and call my method to encode. And what we're going to be passing in is our emoji array into our encode method. And then finally what we need to do is we need to call the data's write method. Coded emojis, and it'll be .write, and it'll be to our archive URL, which is just our file. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to specify in options no file protection. Okay, so what we have now is, let me see here, emojis. I need to go ahead and make sure that's specified. And then down below, coded. I need to specify coded emojis. There we go. So now we have all the compilers are out. So what we're going to do in the next video is we're actually going to go ahead and load up our array. We're going to create a load sample emojis function, a static function, and then we're going to go into our emoji table view controller and update that with the needed code to go ahead and call our load from file function and our save to file function. So that will be part of the next video.